Oye, Alex, cuéntame, ¿qué fue lo primero que escuchaste cuando empezaste con los podcasts en español?
I have absolutely no idea what you just said.
I said, tell me, what was the first thing you heard when you started Spanish podcasts? See, that exact feeling right there, that total blankness when someone speaks Spanish at normal speed, that was me 30 days ago. This is the story of what happened between that moment and the moment I actually understood you.
Welcome to Spanish Unlocked, the podcast where English speakers get brutally honest about what it actually takes to learn Spanish. I'm Alex, your host, currently somewhere between total beginner and guy who embarrasses himself confidently in Spanish. And joining me as always...
Hola a todos. I'm Carlos, originally from Guadalajara, Mexico. Native Spanish speaker, language teacher, and apparently Alex's personal therapist when Spanish gets too hard.
Accurate. Very accurate description. Okay, today's episode is a special one because today I'm telling the full story of my 30-day Spanish podcast challenge. Every ugly detail, every breakthrough, every moment I wanted to quit. Carlos was there for parts of it, so he'll be keeping me honest. Very honest. Yeah. Anyway, let's start from the beginning.
So, quick context for anyone new to the show. Before this challenge, my Spanish level was... Carlos, how would you describe it? You could say hola. You could say gracias. You once tried to say estoy embarazada, thinking it meant I'm embarrassed. We don't need to bring that up every episode, Carlos.
It means I'm pregnant, by the way, for anyone at home.
Yes, I told a Mexican restaurant owner I was pregnant because I was embarrassed and didn't know the difference. So, that was my level. But here's the thing. I'd been learning Spanish for 2 years at that point. 2 years of Duolingo. 2 years of occasional YouTube videos. 2 years of telling myself I'll get serious about it soon. And I was going nowhere. So I came across this concept, Comprehensible Input, developed by a linguist named Stephen Krashen. And Carlos, you actually introduced me to this, right?
Yes, and it's one of the most important ideas in language acquisition. The theory is simple. You acquire language not by studying rules, but by understanding messages. When you hear or read something in your target language and you understand the meaning, even if you don't know every word, your brain is quietly building the language system. Like a child. No child learns grammar charts. They just absorb.
And the best format for this, especially for busy people, is podcasts. You can listen anywhere. Commute, gym, cooking, walking the dog. Your brain is being exposed to real language patterns without you sitting at a desk with a textbook. The key word is comprehensible. Not too easy. That's boring. Not too hard. That's just noise. You want content where you understand maybe 70-80%, and you're reaching for the rest. Which sounds great in theory. In practice?
Day 1 was a disaster.
Okay, week 1. Let me paint you a picture. Day 1, 6 a.m. I'm sitting at my kitchen table with coffee. Headphones on. I've chosen a beginner podcast, Coffee Break Spanish. Fantastic show, by the way. Link in the description. The hosts speak slowly, clearly. There are English explanations. I pressed play. And within 4 minutes, I was thinking about what to have for lunch. This is very common, Alex. You're not stupid. Thank you. Your brain just wasn't trained yet to hold attention in a foreign language. It's exhausting at first, like a muscle you've never used. Exactly. And nobody warns you about this. You think you're going to sit down, listen to Spanish, and magically absorb it. But your brain is working so hard just to process unfamiliar sounds that it burns out fast. By the end of day 1, I'd written down 11 words. That's it. 11 words in 30 minutes. Day 3, though, something small but important happened. Carlos, you told me about cognates before I started. Can you explain that for listeners?
Of course. Cognates are words that look or sound similar in 2 languages and share the same meaning. Spanish and English share thousands of them because both languages borrowed heavily from Latin. For example, comunicación, communication. Educación, education. Información, information. Hospital, hospital. Animal, animal. Natural, natural.
On day 3, I started noticing these patterns in the podcast, and something clicked. I realized I already know some of this. Not fluently, not perfectly, but the building blocks are there. Linguists estimate that English speakers already have passive recognition of around 1,000 Spanish words, just from the Latin roots we share. 1,000 words, before you study a single lesson. That completely changed how I felt about the challenge. But then, day 5, the wall.
Tell them about the wall.
Sincerely, day 5, I sat down to listen and I realized I was doing what researchers call passive listening. The audio was playing, I was physically present, but mentally gone. I wasn't hunting for words, I wasn't engaged, I was just existing near Spanish audio. And passive listening gives you almost zero acquisition. So I switched to what I now call active listening mode. Here's the difference, Carlos. You want to break it down?
Sure.
Passive listening. The audio plays. You hear sounds. Your brain files it as background noise. Active listening, you are hunting. Every few seconds you ask yourself, did I catch that word? What did that phrase mean? Can I guess from context? You're leaning in. You're engaged. You pause when you catch something new. It's more tiring, but it's 10 times more effective.
10 times. At least. By end of week 1, 40 new words. Rough pronunciation. Zero confidence. But something had shifted. I was starting to hear Spanish differently. Not as one long wall of sound, but as something with shapes, with patterns. Week 2 is where it got interesting.
Week 2. I'd found my rhythm. 30 minutes every morning with coffee. 30 minutes on my evening walk. 1 hour total. Every day, no exceptions. And Carlos, you gave me a new technique on day 8. The one that changed my pronunciation completely. Shadowing. This method was developed and popularized by a polyglot named Alexander Arguelles. The idea is simple but powerful. You play the audio and you speak simultaneously with it. Like an actor trying to perfectly mirror every sound, every rhythm, every pause, every intonation. You're not translating. You're not thinking about grammar. You're purely mimicking the sound patterns. And the first time I tried it, I laugh out loud. I sounded like a malfunctioning GPS trying to speak Spanish. I remember. You sent me a voice message.
Please never play that voice message publicly. No promises.
But here's the thing. After 3 days of shadowing, even badly, even robotically, my pronunciation had improved more than it had in 2 years of Duolingo. Because I wasn't learning about the sounds, I was physically training my mouth to make them. Spanish has sounds that English mouths literally don't know how to produce. The rolled R. Carlos, demonstrate. Rojo. Rápido. Perro. Yeah, still working on that one. But the point is, day 10, I had a moment. I was listening to an episode about daily routines in Mexico City. The host said, Hoy vamos a hablar sobre la vida cotidiana en la Ciudad de México. And before the translation came, I understood it. Not perfectly, but I got the meaning. Today, we're going to talk about daily life in Mexico City. Carlos, what do language learners call that moment? The click, or sometimes the breakthrough moment. It's the first time your brain processes the target language directly, without translating through your native language first. And it's important because it means acquisition is actually happening, not just memorization. Memorization is fragile. Acquisition is permanent. Permanent. I love that word. I literally paused the podcast when it happened. Sat there for a moment. It's hard to describe to someone who hasn't experienced it. But if you're learning any language right now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That feeling is addictive. You spend the rest of your learning journey chasing it. By end of week 2, I understood 15 to 20% of what I heard without help. Sounds small, but coming from 0, it felt like everything.
Week 3 is my favorite part of your story, Alex, because week 3 is when you stopped being a student
and started being a listener. Yeah. I want to explain what I mean by that, because I think this is the most underrated shift in language learning. In weeks 1 and 2, every time I sat down to listen, there was this running commentary in my head. Am I learning? Is this working? Should I be taking more notes? Am I at the right level? Is this podcast too easy? Too hard? Should I switch? That internal monitoring, that constant self-evaluation was actually consuming mental energy that should have been going toward the language. Week 3, I made a decision. I'm just going to listen. Like I listen to music I love. No judgment, no evaluation, just receive. This is actually supported by Krashen's research. He calls it the affective filter hypothesis. When your anxiety is high, when you're stressed, self-conscious, constantly evaluating yourself, your brain puts up a kind of wall, and language acquisition is blocked. When you relax, when you lower that filter, language flows in much more naturally. And the proof for me came on day 16. Carlos, I told you about the dream, right?
The Spanish dream?
Yes, tell them.
Day 16. I dreamed in Spanish. Not fluent Spanish. Not grammatically correct Spanish. But there were Spanish words in my dream, appearing naturally, without me trying. I know that sounds small, but if you understand how language acquisition works, your dreaming brain doesn't have access to your studying brain. It only uses what's been genuinely acquired. Spanish was appearing in my subconscious. That meant it was in there, for real. This is actually documented in language acquisition research. Dreaming in a target language is considered one of the most reliable signs that genuine acquisition is occurring. Day 18. I made a scary decision. I graduated to intermediate podcasts, native speed, minimal English, real conversations. First episode, I understood maybe 5%.
a step backward from my 20% progress. And for about 10 minutes, I genuinely considered quitting. But you didn't. But I didn't. Because of something you told me, Carlos. You said the discomfort is the progress. When your brain is struggling to understand, that's not failure. That's construction. The brain is literally building new pathways, new connections between sounds and meanings. Struggle means growth. Comfort means plateau. So I stayed uncomfortable, intentionally. By end of week 3, Spanish no longer sounded like one fast blur. I could hear where words ended and began. That might sound simple, but for anyone who's tried learning a foreign language, you know exactly how massive that is.
Week 4. The moment of truth. Day 23. I signed up for a language exchange on an app called Tandem. For anyone who doesn't know, Tandem connects you with native speakers who want to learn your language while you learn theirs. I matched with a guy named Miguel from Monterrey, Mexico. We agreed. 15 minutes he practices English with me, 15 minutes I attempt Spanish with him. Carlos, I'm going to be honest. I was more nervous for that conversation than I've been for actual job interviews.
I know. You texted me right before.
What did I say?
You said, and I quote, "Carlos,
I think I'm going to be sick." Accurate representation of my mental state. So the first 5 minutes were rough. Here's what my Spanish sounded like. Yo vivo en Chicago. Es una ciudad muy grande, creo. Every sentence ended as a question because I wasn't sure if I was saying it right. But Miguel, he was incredibly patient. He laughed, but kindly. And that kindness made me relax. And when I relaxed, the language came. The language came. By minute 12, I was describing my neighborhood, my job, what I liked about Mexico City, even though I'd never been there. Imperfectly, with long pauses, with wrong words. But the meaning was there. Communication was happening. And then Miguel said something. Carlos, you know what he said. Tell him. He said, "Tu español es mejor de lo que crees." Your Spanish is better than you think. Said in Spanish by a native speaker in response to my Spanish. I won't pretend that didn't hit hard. Because for 30 days, I'd been in my own head, judging every mistake, comparing myself to fluent speakers. And here was someone on the receiving end of my broken, imperfect Spanish telling me it was working. Carlos, day 30, the final test. Tell listeners what I did. You listened to a full episode of a Spanish true crime podcast. Native speed, Mexican slang, complex narratives, zero English support. And you told me afterward what you understood. 45%. 45% of a native speed Spanish podcast, starting from effectively zero in 30 days. Is that fluency? No. Is that impressive to a native speaker? No. But is it proof, real, measurable proof, that the method works? Without question. Okay, let's make this actionable. Because I don't want this to just be a story. I want you to be able to start today. Carlos, let's walk through the exact system, step by step. Step 1. Choose the right podcast for your level. Complete beginner? Coffee Break Spanish. Slow, clear, with English explanations. Perfect starting point. Dreaming Spanish Beginner. Pure comprehensible input. No English, but very slow and visual. Pimsleur Spanish. Audio only, extremely structured. Excellent for pronunciation foundation. Low Intermediate. Notes in Spanish. Real conversations between a native and a learner. Very natural. Español con Juan. Authentic Mexican Spanish, engaging topics. Advanced. Radio Ambulante. NPR-style storytelling in Spanish. Outstanding quality. El Hilo. Current events and deep journalism. Native speed, rich vocabulary. All links are in the description. Step 2. The 30-30 rule. 30 minutes every morning, 30 minutes every evening. Morning listening primes your brain for language exposure throughout the day. Evening listening consolidates what you've absorbed because your brain processes and stores language during sleep. This is backed by memory consolidation research. The timing matters. Step 3. Active listening protocol. 3 things to do while you listen. 1. Hunt for words you recognize. Don't let the audio wash over you. Stay engaged. 2. When you catch a new word, pause. Repeat it out loud 3 times, then continue. 3. After each episode, write down exactly 5 new words. Not 50, not 20, 5. 5 words done consistently is 450 words over 30 days. That's a meaningful vocabulary foundation.
Step 4. Add shadowing by week 2. Find podcasts with transcripts. Coffee Break Spanish has them for every episode. Follow along as you listen. Then shadow. Speak simultaneously with the audio. Don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about sounding ridiculous. 10 minutes of shadowing equals 1 hour of passive listening in pronunciation improvement. Your mouth needs to learn these sounds physically. Shadowing does that faster than anything else. Step 5. Get a language partner by week 3. Tandem, Hello Talk, italki. You don't need to be ready. There is no ready. There is only willing to be imperfect in front of another person. And that willingness, that courage to sound bad, is what separates people who learn languages from people who study them forever and never speak. And the most important lesson of all, Carlos, you want to say it? Consistency beats intensity. Every time, without exception. 30 minutes every day for 30 days will always beat 3 hours on Saturday. Your brain builds language through repetition over time, not through marathon sessions, not through expensive courses, not through the perfect app or the perfect method, through showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. All right, here's your challenge. Right now, not tomorrow, not Monday, open Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Search Coffee Break Spanish. Subscribe. Play episode 1. That's it. That's the whole challenge. Don't commit to 30 days. Don't make a big plan. Don't buy anything. Just play episode 1. Because here's what I know after 30 days of doing this. The version of you that speaks Spanish, that person already exists. They're just waiting on the other side of 30 days of showing up. And remember, every native Spanish speaker you will ever meet, they want you to try. They are not judging your mistakes. They are impressed that you're trying at all. Tu español es mejor de lo que crees. Your Spanish is better than you think. I want to hear from you in the comments. What's your biggest challenge with Spanish right now? Are you a complete beginner? Stuck at intermediate? Afraid to speak? Tell me. I read every single comment, and your answers are literally shaping the next episodes of this show. If this episode helped you, share it with one person who's been wanting to learn Spanish. You might be the reason they finally start.
All podcast links, all resources mentioned today, everything is in the description below. Carlos, see you next week.
Always. Hasta la próxima.
Hasta la próxima, everyone. And remember, Spanish unlocked. Vamos.